at the right time. But hopefully we won't make you motion sickness or motion sick with any of the moving about. So I just wanted to start. I see that some of you have the instruction manual printed, which is fantastic. Everybody should have received a copy of the instruction manual. We've done it digitally right now, and that's because this is brand new. This is a brand new initiative that you have the very first kits outside of the prototype that we have used so far. And we know that there's going to be some adjustments that we're going to need to make along the way. I can't thank you all enough for being our early adopters of Innovators Quest 2. We've had a lot of people who have said, this seems great, but I really want to see it in action. I want to talk to people that have already used it. And so we are probably going to look to you all a little bit for some of that as we get rolling too, but no pressure. We want to learn from you, and we want to make sure that you have the best experience possible with this out in your communities too. So the instruction manual goes into a lot of detail in terms of setting up the kit, all of the different components, all the individual pieces that are inside of a box. If you have not had a chance to read through there yet, please do so, read through it thoroughly. And then there's some pages in there too that you can copy or reprint to use as checklists when you're actually taking this out into the field. So you can make sure that kids haven't walked off with, any of the pieces. We know how, if you work with kids, you know how they can be. But we have tried to make it as easy to implement as possible, because the whole idea is that it should not take a whole lot of experience with this to take it out into the field and use it with students. We want it to be very user-friendly for you all as well as the students who are using it. But you are going to see today that it's challenging, which is the whole intention of it as well. There's some parts that you really have to work through. And I'll tell you too, the other thing I want you to think about up front is it may seem overwhelming at first. There's a lot of things in here, but don't let it intimidate or overwhelm you. Every time I take this out and do it with different groups, every group really is different. You could have 2 6th grade classrooms, and they're going to be, you can have them back to back. Each of those are going to run a little bit differently just based on the kids, the personality, the level that they're working at as well. So know that you also are going to learn new things every time you take this out. Everything that we've given you is things that we've learned already, some of the best practices, hopefully some of the time savers as well. But this is a starting point. You can also make it your own. So please give yourselves the space to do that also. Today, we're going to focus on the kind of like traditional intended use that we designed it for. But as we actually got it designed and we had the prototype, we started to realize how many different ways this kit can actually be used. So I'm going to run through a couple slides here real quick. All right, so just a little bit of background, especially for those of you who may be kind of new to this. We designed, as I mentioned earlier, Innovators Quest to be used by manufacturers as a tool. This is not something that we wanted to just have donated to schools for the teachers to have to implement. That defeats the purpose. This is truly a community engagement tool for manufacturers also. It is also an educational tool. It is helping students kind of build some early awareness of manufacturing, but in a very fun, engaging way. And if you've looked at it already, you may have been like, what does this really have to do with manufacturing? You're going to see today as we get hands-on with it that there are so many different skills and concepts and different careers even that are built into this thing where kids are learning without realizing that they're learning, which is, some of the best ways for them to learn. So anytime this is used, there should be manufacturing employees or those of you who are kind of representing manufacturers as well, who are knowledgeable about the different careers that you can have in industry. And we're not talking about just production technicians, those floor-based roles. We're talking about any career, any job that it takes for manufacturing to be successful can somehow be embedded into this. And that's the whole goal, is that every student will see themselves in manufacturing somehow, regardless of what they enjoy doing, what they feel like they're good at. So again, manufacturers should always be in the room. They can be the facilitators, you can be the facilitators. The other thing that we've learned is that high school students who are already in some type of STEM or manufacturing related program can also go out with you and be facilitators. And then they also become like peer mentors, peer role models, who now can talk about the programs that they're in school, how the younger kids can move into those types of things also. And then as we talk about FAME chapters, FAME students could go out and facilitate this with their host companies, or however you want to arrange that. You're going to find too that the number of people that should be in the room is going to change based on the group that you're doing it with. Younger students are going to need a little bit more oversight, maybe a little bit more help. Older students are probably going to take it and run. And now you're talking more to them about, as they're doing something in these activities, how we use that in the real world. How does that really apply to a specific process in manufacturing or to a specific field, whatever it might be. It's really about being that connective tissue. The other thing, as I mentioned, we're going to focus today mostly on the traditional use, which is kind of a classroom, like a group of 30 or so type setting. But this thing can be adapted in so many different ways. I have used it personally with a group of 80 students in a gymnasium all at one time with this one kit. And we've kind of given you some of those things within the instruction manual too, to help you think through it. But please know that I am always happy to have individual calls with you to help you kind of brainstorm through whatever ideas or potential uses you might have for this. Okay. So let's move on to the next. So this is kind of the traditional use that we created this for, okay? Grades 4 through 9. We know we have to get to students earlier. They have to know about manufacturing, even if it's not in, with that specific word. But we got to get them to start thinking about our industry as an industry of choice, but we don't need them to know everything about it right now. We don't need them to be super highly technical with different processes or careers, but we do need to make them aware, because many of them just don't know. We talk a lot about a perception problem, which is true with adults, but kids can't have a negative perception if they don't even know something exists or is possible. So that's kind of what our intention was to meet younger students. And that middle school area has really shown to be a gap for a lot of manufacturers. The event format, ideally, this would all be done in one session. An hour and a half is a really good time window for the kids to be hands-on with this. 2 hours gives you plenty of time from start to finish to have all, different conversations with them and those types of things. But for it to be completed beginning to end, you're going to need probably at least 90 minutes. If you can't complete it all in one session, it can be spread out over multiple sessions too. So again, that's kind of part of the brainstorming of how things would adjust under those different circumstances. We also designed it for a group of about 30 students working in teams of 6. So in your kits, you have these boxes right here. Sorry, Brittany, if you can go down a bit. The stack of 4 boxes serves one team of 6. So they don't have to wait on another group to finish. They don't have to do these, and like the boxes or the realms is what we call them. The activities don't build upon one another. So that's also how you can adapt it in different ways. Sorry, I think the cameras are tracking me. Put my face down here. There we go. But anyhow, so every team would have their own set of all 4 realms. But as I've mentioned, you could actually spread it out where one team only has 1 box at a time. And now those 20 boxes are spread across way more groups as well. But that was the ideal group size. Typically a classroom, a media center, if you're, out we actually did our first round at the Boys and Girls Club in one of their activity rooms. So, I mean, anywhere that you have tables right now, what you're seeing ours set up on is a 5x5 round table. That is plenty of space. You could go a little bit smaller, probably 4 foot is about the smallest I would recommend. And you'll see when we get to the labyrinth of machines, it's bigger, so it takes more space. These could also be done on the floor too. So lots of different ways that you could set it up. And then ideally 3 to 5 volunteers in the room. That may, again, adjust based on the size of the group that you're using it with and the age of the group that you're using it with. But that was kind of the parameters that we went with from the beginning. So the official name of this is the Quest for the Crystal of Innovation, but we've shortened it to Innovators Quest. So I just want to kind of make sure that everybody knows that we are talking about the same thing. But the kids are actually completing the quest for the Crystal of Innovation. And so there's a whole storyline to this thing. The students are in the fictional continent of Creatoria. The Crystal of Innovation, which you are seeing there on the screen, has shattered. Everybody's in a time warp now. Innovation is stopped. And so they have to work in teams to go out, complete the different challenges, collect the crystal shards that are in each box, and restore innovation, essentially. Some of the background too is they're working in teams. So each team is trying to successfully complete all of the realms, but it really takes the entire class or the entire larger group to successfully complete the quest. And that kind of tells the story of manufacturing, right? We work in individual teams or in departments, but ultimately it takes everyone for a manufacturing business to be successful. So it's not a one person or a one team show. The students are going to take on roles of different innovator characters, and I'll get into those in just a minute. But they're going to have to use critical thinking. They're going to have to use teamwork and communication, problem solving, all of those durable skills, employability skills, whatever we want to call them. But they are going to go through 4 realms, and each realm is going to kind of apply different types of abilities as well. That's the great thing about the characters also, is each of the characters also have different strengths that will build or come into play in each of the different realms. The volunteers or adults or older students in the room, they're going to be known as gatekeepers throughout the experience. So that kind of plays into the narrative, which I'll play for you here in a few minutes. But that helps kind of get the kids excited about what they're doing. So as we talk about the innovators, okay, in your kits, you have this plastic box. On the side here it shows you that one set of cards are for 4 and 5, the other set of cards are 6 through 9. So the cards are going to look very similar, but we actually adjusted the titles of the characters and the description of the characters for younger students, just using a little bit of simpler language in different places. But also in some of the areas that we've adjusted, there's some context clues. So they're still getting a little bit of the more advanced description, but adjusting so that they can figure out what some of those words mean. So you have 8 sets of each level of cards in this box, and there's 6 characters in each set. Okay, so each set is the same. Brickdy, let's go to front 5. So the innovators on the screen, we'll run through kind of what they represent too. The champion, the name stays the same for both grade levels. You can see the strengths on the back of each card as well. Think of the champion as like your HR, customer service, sales type roles. They're your people, essentially. Sorry, our cameras are going all over the place right now. But so you could use the cards that you have. Okay, you got 8 sets, so you could have it with 8 groups if you wanted to use it up to, what would that be, 48 students, I think. Now, we also can send you the digital files. What I've done when I was using it with bigger groups is I just printed out the digital file of each of these, the graphic, and grabbed some extra sleeves at Walmart and put them in there myself. So you can actually make your own cards, but we can order you more as well if you intend to use it with bigger students or bigger groups of students. The other, we'll get more into kind of things that change for the age levels as well. But so we've talked about the champion. The next one is the artisan or the maker. These are more of your hands-on roles. Your people, think of your technicians, maybe your welders, people who, you know, like to get down and dirty, roll their sleeves up type folks. Again, kind of looking at their strengths at the back or on the back. We tried to build those strengths into what many of those folks may do. We kept these characters very, very broad though. We don't want to align it with specific, like you can tell them what career paths may align with different ones, but we want them to be able to visualize for themselves which character they might be as well. Then we have the brain or the mastermind. These are going to be more of like your engineering type folks. This tends to be one of the favorite characters as well. But they're the ones that are really trying to look at the problem and come up with the solution for it. The oracle or the magician. This is one, I always like to have the conversation with kids, like, what do you think this might be? What kinds of jobs do you think might, you know, align with the different characters? And I love it when the kids say, we don't know this one, because that was part of the goal. We know that take a 5th grader right now, right? When they graduate, there may be jobs that we need to fill that we don't even know about yet today with the pace of what technology and things are changing. We want them to be able to imagine their own future as well, whether it exists or not right now. So the oracle could be like a technologist. It could be, you know, your technology type folks as well. But this simply could be somebody who's looking into the future and figuring it out for themselves. The originator or the dreamer, these are your artists, your designers, thinking up new ideas, your inventors even. And then the tactician or the plotter, These are more of like your logistics, procurement, people that can find the things that you need to make the things that need to be made, or finding the way, could be even transportation type things. So again, not only do the titles and the descriptions change, but in the upper right-hand corner of each card, it does not any longer actually say secret symbol or, oh, yes, it does, sorry. That was a hint that we gave them. Sorry, we changed a few things over time. That's going to come into play in one of the realms where they're actually going to have to put their cards together to successfully complete the realm. And so that was the whole, we want every kid to be engaged in every activity or through every challenge as well. And with each of them taking on the role. So as they get into teams, every person in the team of 6 should be a different character. Okay. And then digging into the realms. So as we open these boxes, there are some things that are very consistent across all of the realms. These are really able to be self-facilitated, self-guided within the teams. And it's going to be important. There's some instructions in the facilitator guide and the script that are going to tell them they need to pay close attention, not just to the spoken directions or instructions, but also to the written ones. Everything they need is in this box to be successful. What you'll find, and I was just telling my team about this yesterday, I was out at a company and their team, the adults, were actually doing the different quests challenges, and they were struggling because adults and advanced or older kids have the tendency to see something and think, I know what I'm doing with that, and just dive right in. But there are hints in here. There are specific steps that need to be followed. And if you don't necessarily do them that way, you may not complete it correctly. So it's fun to watch different people complete it. But within here, when they open it up, let's see if I can move down here a little bit. Everything starts. Nobody should take anything out of a box until they have read everything that is visible when they first open the box. Okay. And again, this is part of the instructions in the manual too. But this is kind of like their intro to the realm. And then different characters will have different parts that they need to read to start as well. There are hints embedded in these also. And then there's a board in every box. And then on that board, there are more specific instructions in the top left corner. So these kind of stay the same. It's set up, how to retrieve the shards, and then did it work? So that language stays the same in every box, but their specific directions may change. Then some of, not all of the realms, but several of them have task cards that are even more specific instructions. We wanted to build in the concept of being able to read technical manuals, of following schematics, of whatever it might be. Okay. So it's important that they pay attention to the task cards. And then every box is going to have these crystal shards. Okay. These are just small little colorful crystal pieces that eventually, as they complete each challenge, they're going to actually bring up and put into the crystal. And we'll talk more about how that changes over time. And then there are also other parts that are going to be essential for the actual activities within each one of these. Okay, so those things are consistent across all of the realm boxes. We have also built in these foam cutouts, kind of integrating things like visual workplace organization. We want them to take things out and put things away where they belong, which is critical in a manufacturing facility. But again, everything they need to complete successfully is inside of each box. There are a few things as you use this that are going to need to be refilled, reset, but we've tried to make it as simple as possible. Any questions so far? Are you lost? Anybody lost? Hopefully the answer is no. All right, good. Okay, so looking at each realm, we're going to just talk briefly a high-level overview of them, and then here in a few minutes, we're going to actually dive in and do each of these realms so you can kind of see it or do it in action. Oh, I'm going to call you out there, Quad Cities. You already made a mistake. Channel of Unity, look at that board. Right, yeah. Who's got the Channel of Unity? Mm-hmm. Yep. Now look, see that board? Got to have your instructions on the outside. Ooh. So this is why I like to do it this way. This is part of it with the students too. You're going to tell them as you give them instructions that they should reset the box when they are finished exactly as they found it or better, so that it is ready for the next group that may use it. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Do you have another one that you can use for now?
I don't know if any of this is applicable to anybody else, but I'm not catching any of that.
That. The box was empty. There was supposed to be a bunch of stuff in those phone slots.
We will get that to you immediately. I apologize for that. Okay, so looking first at the City of Imagination, that's the one that I've got right here in front of me. In the City of Imagination, the kids are actually using 3D pens. The whole idea is, let's go to ceiling one, please. The whole idea is the cloud bridge has broken. The students are going to have to use the 3D pens to repair the bridge. And then they're going to drive their truck with their crystal shards across the bridge. Okay. So again, we'll do this here in a few minutes, but the kids are going to follow the directions that are on the box. They're going to read here to know how to set up their board. Okay, that they need to pull the bridge out. Everything is labeled on top of the board, what to do with the shards. Now, here they also have task cards. So the task cards come in this envelope to keep them organized. Part of the thing when it comes back to setting this up when they're finished is putting the task cards in order. Now, these only have tasks 1 through 4. When we get into other realms, sometimes there's task 2, cards 1 of 2, cards 2 of 2, depending on how many steps there are in that actual task, okay? But these are going to help them know how to use like this specifically, how to use the 3D pens. There are also blueprints in here that they have to trace with the 3D pens to successfully build each piece. And then they have to weld their bridge pieces to the original bridge to repair it. They're learning about structural integrity. Again, those basic welding concepts. Each of them, they're learning about additive manufacturing, but each of them should get a chance to use the 3D pens. Okay. And they're going to have to find that their equipment is in this box. And there's a clue about under the clouds. So inside of that box, they have the 3D pen filament, their 3D pens, and then the different blueprints that they will need to trace each of those. Okay. That is the City of Imagination. Go to 2. All right. Labyrinth of Machines. Let's see. So this, I will tell you, is probably the most time consuming of all of the realms. There's a lot of pieces, a lot of intricate things that they're going to be doing. Ultimately, the teams are going to be assembling a snake robot. They're also going to be wiring the remote control. Okay. If you open this box, you'll see there's 2 wiring harnesses in there. Their task cards tell them step by step how to wire the remote correctly, how to connect each piece of the snake correctly, how to connect the remote to the snake. And then they're going to sprinkle their crystal shards all across this board, and they'll have to maneuver the snake around to pick up or touch essentially each of the crystal shards. As they touch them, they can pick them up. As they get them all retrieved, one of the people from the group will bring it over and put it into the crystal. Okay. These boxes for the remote controls are 3D printed. So they're actually getting to see 3D printed things and how they can be different. The crystal is also 3D printed. But you'll notice even the little white boxes and the bridge and the City of Imagination are all 3D printed, so they can see different materials. They can see what those different kind of processes or designs even may be. But anyhow, everything they need is inside of this remote control. We have glued all of these different wires and things, so they should be, kids will break anything, they'll find a way, but they should be pretty durable. But if you find that you're having issues with anything in here, please let me know. And again, none of these build upon one another, so they can go through any of these realms in different orders. The Forest of Precision. In this one, they are building an airplane launcher. So they're going to create an electrical circuit that's going to power their machine. And then they also, in their task cards, are going to have blueprint designs to create or make different paper airplanes. And then they're going to fly those airplanes through their airplane launcher. They have to measure out. So all their little pieces are inside of this box. They should also put all of the little pieces back into this box. But they have a tape measure in here. They have to measure out 6 feet. The tape measure does not tell them feet. It only tells them inches. So they actually have to figure out how many inches are in 6 feet too. So tried to work some of those little things in there that aren't, at first glance quick to see. Now, this is one of the things, giving you guys a hint for later too. In the instruction manual, in the script, it tells them if first you're going to read through everything on the box before you take anything out of the box. If the realm has task cards, it's also usually helpful to read through all of the task cards first so that they know what they're working towards. But also, in some of these realms, they're going to need to split up tasks. So in this realm, for example, I may have 1 or 2 people working together to wire or to create the airplane launcher. I may have two people working on one blueprint of paper airplanes. I may have a couple people working on another blueprint of paper airplanes. You can't just have one person doing all of this, or it's going to take way too long. But that's, again, another kind of hint that you may need to give them as they work through things. This is, sometimes you'll see kids too, who you see a lot of personalities come out. Even with adults, you see the personalities come out of who's taking the lead, who's just trying to do everything themselves and not including others, who's standing in the back, trying to avoid doing anything. But sometimes you have the really shy students too. Advocate for them, remind their team to make sure that everybody is playing their part to complete the challenges. And then finally, go to ceiling 4 here, the channel of unity. This one is not highly technical. This is more of a brain challenge, a teamwork and communication challenge. So as I mentioned earlier on those character cards, the older kids are going to have a symbol. The younger kids are going to have a letter. They are going to have to work together to figure out what letter their symbol represents. So these things are all embedded in the board. They're going to figure out what letter their symbol represents, or they're going to take all of their letters they already have. They're going to unscramble it, and they're going to write down whatever their secret incantation or chant is. And they have to do it very quietly so that no other groups hear them. And they have to tell it to a gatekeeper to be successfully completed. Okay. In there, these are highly popular bubble pens. They are very fun to play with, very fun to watch. One of the things I will tell you, I'll give you hints as we go through this. These twist for the pen to come out at the bottom. They do not pull off. I accidentally broke one myself trying to pull it off. So, just a little tip for how that works. Okay, so those are the 4 realms. And then as they're completing, so we have all the crystal shards, as each group shows or demonstrates to the gatekeeper that they've successfully completed that realm. 1 or 2 people from the group will take the crystal shards up to the crystal, put them inside of it, and go back. The team will reset the box, and then they can move on to the next realm. Never should a team be working in 2 realms at one time. Okay, they all need to be working together. Now, you could have different teams working on different realms. Every team doesn't have to be in the same place at the same time. Okay, so that is just a very high level overview of each of the realms or activities. Sorry, I forgot to change my slide there on that last one, but. All right, so I'm gonna switch over. I may need to change my view here in a moment. And hopefully you will see the instruction manual come up. All right. So just to kind of take a stroll through this, we've gone through the first kind of overview of things here. As you go through the manual, it gives you kind of ideas for planning with your partners, things you need to think through. How are you going to decide what group you're going to do it with, what age group, what size of group, so on and so forth. I recommend start easy. Start with the existing relationships you already have and start small, right? Test it out with a couple groups that you've maybe worked with more frequently in the past, knowing that there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve with it. But you will quickly gain confidence in using this kit. So there's a little checklist here too, in terms of when you're working with your partner, what are the different roles and responsibilities? What is the setup that you need to have in the room to be able to walk in and lay this thing out essentially? That's something that the partner can help with. Maybe, presetting the tables, pushing the desks together, whatever that might be. Whereas you are traveling with this kit in and you will, set it up once you get on site, essentially. So just some kind of logistical planning stuff. And then we give you a checklist. This is one that I was mentioning. You can make copies of this checklist or reprint it for every time this kit is going out to make sure that it's coming back with all of the components in it as well. Okay. There are, as you get into, and we'll talk about this in a bit, there are very few things that actually need to be refilled or reset. The crystal shard bags, the little black bags that are in each kit, those are going to need to be reset after each use. Now, if you are using it back to back, we've given you 20 extra bags that are already filled with those crystals. So all you got to do is take the empty bag out, pop the new one in. Okay. In the City of Imagination, the 3D pen comes with the filament. The filament is going to have to be refilled. Now, I can tell you this. Resource management is important here. The kids love the 3D pens. And if you allow them to have as much filament as they want, they will use it, making whatever they feel like using or making. So what I have done, let's see if I can find the camera here. Yay. In your kits, anything that I found is a shortcut and a time saver, I have made sure that we've provided them in your kits as well. So 18 pieces of filament. We gave you these they're actually little hair rubber bands for little girls. They work perfectly to go ahead and have these groups. I've got a whole bag full of these. So each time we've finished City of Imagination, all I got to do is grab a little group of these and pop them in. Okay. They're going to start with all white, but you got a bunch of packages of colors. I know everybody got some open packages of filament. That's because they went in and they actually picked all of the white out there to start with. So you're not getting, leftovers from somebody else. It's just that they've taken your starter out and put them into the boxes already. You have enough filament to use this with 750 students. Honestly, that's very conservative. You probably have enough for more, but at least that much. Okay. Nothing else in the City of Imagination needs to be refilled other than the filament and replacing the crystals. The labyrinth of machines, nothing needs to be refilled or replaced except for the crystals. The channel of unity, so this is kind of a key to give the kids. There are a lot of sheets of paper in this one pad. Every kid does not need their own sheet of paper. Each team needs one sheet. Okay, so they can just take their one off and put it back. You also have a backup set of every one of these. So you should have plenty for more than 750 students for those. And then on the Forest of Precision, again, the crystals will have to be replaced. But the students, that one comes with these little paper squares. Okay. Each team, each time that box is used, should need no more than 20 sheets of paper. And again, if you give them more, they will use more. So I recommend just going ahead and kind of paper clipping about 20 pieces that you can just toss in the box. It's okay if it's not. They're supposed to create 15 paper airplanes as part of their use of that or completion of that challenge. So you're really giving them extra, but if you don't want to count out 20 sheets, just kind of gauge a chunk of them and it will be enough or should be enough for them. Okay. That's all the things that actually need refilled. So again, we've given you extra parts for everything, but you should have plenty of materials to get you by. And you've got these big old boxes of this paper. The other thing about the kits is, like I mentioned, we gave you a lot of extra backup parts and pieces in case something breaks, in case something comes up missing. Hopefully things don't walk away, but you may not need to take everything with you though, every time you go out to do this. So you might pack a few extra little pieces, maybe a couple extra snake robot body pieces, maybe the extra snaps in case of snap. It depends on how many groups you're doing it with in one day too. If you're only doing it with one group, you're probably not going to need to take any backups with you. If it's a larger group, you might just need to take the extra paper and filament and crystals. Okay, so you'll start to gauge all of those different things, but you'll think through what changes based on the size of the group or the number of times I'm using it in a day. Questions yet? There's so much to cover. Everybody feeling okay? You want to play?
I have many questions, but I will not take up the time of the group, but I definitely have lots of questions.
Okay. Are you writing them down?
Absolutely.
Excellent. We will get to them. All right. So you've got your checklists in here that you can use. Preparing for transport. All of you, one kit is 5 travel cases. Okay. So on the front of each of those travel cases, there's also like a little card that shows what should be inside of each of those travel cases. It doesn't necessarily have to be packed that way. If there's something that works better for you, go for it. The way that we have packed them keeps them consistently weighted. Each one of those travel kits is right around 50 pounds. Okay. Some of I can tell you the City of Imagination and the Labyrinth of Machines are the 2 heaviest boxes, which is why we've spread them out and not just put all of one realm into one travel case. So as you are preparing for an event, okay, we've kind of talked about what's in all of these things, but the day before you're going to take this thing out, there are a few things that you're going to need to do to prepare. There's a few items that are battery operated. There's nothing that needs to be plugged in the day of an event except for your charging box. Okay, so in your kit, you all have one of these big USB, 24 USB block. You also have enough cables for every one of the 3D pens in your kit. You've got a cable for the light up base, for the speaker, and for the MP3 player. You can plug every single thing in to charge it all at once using this. Okay, so the day before, I would recommend you fully charge everything. If it is fully charged, everything in your kit should last through an entire day of, multiple uses. But this is what I would also find a convenient plug at wherever your event space is. Plug this in, have your chargers ready to go. If one of the 3D pens dies in the middle of it, grab one of your backups, give that to that kit, and then put the other one on the charger. Should another one die, you've still got another backup that you can give them, put that one on the charger. But now by that time, the 3D pens that had died are recharged and ready to go. They don't take that long. Okay.
Can you show us I can't see what you're talking about and I'm not sure if I'm finding it. Are you able to show us the charging box?
Yes.
Okay.
So can you all see me right now?
No, we can only, or at least I can only see like the manual.
No, I was seeing you. If
Oh.
you go to
I can see you.
yeah,
Different
we
view.
can, yeah, if you go to a different view, because you can see her in like the tiny speaker version, but if you double click on her
There we
name, she'll
go.
pop up.
Thank you.
You're
Sorry,
welcome.
that's my fault.
No, that's okay. I was just like, what? That's
Yes, so this is the box that I was referring to. And it should be in the travel case with like the crystal, there's the 3D or the light up turntable. It should be in that travel case. And then all of these cords come in a little plastic bag all together. Okay, but everything can charge with this block at one time. So I usually pull the 3D pens out, stick them all on here. The 3D pens don't take that long to charge. They start with a flashing yellow light. As they are fully charged, that flashing light turns to a solid light. So you know, and you can pull those off and go ahead and start packing them back in boxes. Okay. But this is the only thing that actually needs to be plugged in during an event. So you're going to take your, you're going to do that the night before. And then the other thing that you're going to want to double check, I didn't mention this earlier, but we have the different character cards for each grade level or for the younger and the older kids. These instructions on the top of the box actually can change for younger groups as well. They're very similar. There's not a big adjustment in them. The character pictures are going to stay the same, but the titles of the character are going to change. And then just a few of the descriptions are slightly easier or give different clues to help them understand other vocabulary. This is very simple though. Magnetic. All you got to do is flip it over. Okay, so all of your boxes should have come loaded with the 6 through 9 grade characters on the front. Okay, but again, simple switch. And the titles of each of the characters by level are in your instruction manual too. As you are loading, please use a 2-person lift. Again, each case is about 50 pounds, so they can be a little heavy, but they are much lighter than we initially started with 10 boxes in a case, and it was about 100 pounds. And I did not want you all to have to do that. So you can read through here other things that you might consider bringing with you. Now, if you just a recommendation, if you're going to do this with a larger group and the kids, maybe each team doesn't have this full set of, they don't have all 4 boxes in a realm. Maybe they only have 1 box, they complete it, they go put it away and pick up a new one. For that situation, you might have a list of each of the 4 realms that's like a little checklist that each team can kind of check it off as they finish one. That helps you keep track of what they've done. That helps them keep track of what they've done too. But you're just going to take your travel cases. I can fit all of this in my Honda Accord. It's really tight. I do recommend more of an SUV or something a little larger, but it can be done. And I travel with this all by myself. I encourage you to take people with you, but I just want you to understand that it can be done. And ideally, I would say give yourself about an hour to set up, especially the first few times. You'll start to get quicker and quicker. I can set this thing up and be ready to go with kids in 30 minutes or less, probably. Tear down, again, give yourself an hour to start with. I tend to tear it down, take everything home, do all my refills and stuff at home. You could do it all on the spot, so it's ready to go the next time too. But again, I can have it packed up, ready to go in 30 minutes too. Give yourself extra time until you get to that comfort level though. Make
Can I
sure
ask a
that,
quick question, Jen?
sure.
When talking about traveling, you might have just said this, and I apologize. So do all 5 cases have to come to each event?
Depends on how many kids you're going to be using it with.
Mhm.
I would recommend it generally, unless you know you're gonna have a small group of kids.
Okay.
Um,
I just worry about fitting it all in our vehicle.
yeah, I understand. Um, if you were using it with a smaller group of kids, or if you were even in a smaller, like a group of 30, if you wanted them to share realms across teams, you could do it with less.
Okay.
So I'm happy to work through that with you to
Okay.
figure out
Okay.
how you would package it and
Great.
transport it that way based on what you're doing with
Okay.
it. Yeah. Yep. Um, but if you're going somewhere that's multiple stories, make sure they have an elevator because you don't want to carry these things up the stairs.
Mm,
For you
hmm
with that. But that's a planning tip and it's in the instruction manual. Okay. It goes through how to set things up. I've given you, this is kind of, if you're on the instruction manual or you can see the instruction manual, a classroom setup where you would have all of your tables around the outside. And then you would have your Crystal of Innovation table with your speaker and everything in the center. If you're doing it with a larger group, then you might put the Crystal table in the front of the room. Where everybody, all the tables are kind of looking at that. When I did it in the gymnasium, or if you're doing it in a cafeteria, there is also kind of a diagram for each of those. Okay, just recommendations. You can do whatever works for you, though. This is yours. All right, we gave you some general kind of best practice tips for working with kids of different age groups. And then we get into the actual script. Okay, so this is something that you're going to want to have. I would encourage anybody who's using this thing to read the instruction manual. I know it's a lot, but there's a lot of good information in there. But at a minimum, if somebody is taking this out into the field, they should have a copy of the facilitator script and a copy of the checklist, the item checklist.
Can I interrupt real quick for just another quick question?
Sure.
This was on my list, but I feel like it's relevant for right now. So, do you recommend any sort of pre-introduction before this, or do you recommend just going in completely cold? So, if I'm working with a group, my organization doesn't work with students, but we will. And so, let's say that I found a local elementary school's robotics team who wants to do this project with us.
Mhm.
And they know nothing about manufacturing. They've never even heard of us. We've never worked with them. We're going in completely cold. Do you recommend any sort of pre-introduction, or is this what you recommend starting with exactly this?
I think it could go either way, to be completely honest. Um, the kids that I have done this with have had no introduction.
Okay.
I've given the introduction when I first start, kind of tell them a little bit about who we are, why we created Innovators Quest, or for you all,
Mhm.
why you wanted to bring it out and do it with them. And even you can give them a little, ask them how many of them even know what manufacturing is. And you might have
Mhm.
a couple hands go up, you might have a bunch, who knows? So you can kind of use that as a starting point, but the conversation can continue afterwards as well. And that's kind of part of the point too, is like, this is an entry experience for them. This can be a first touch point even for you to have with them, where they now they've seen you, but they've had fun when you've been in the room.
Mhm.
And the more fun kids associate you with, the more they're going to listen to you, the more they're going
Mhm.
to find you relevant. And then you can kind of continue what you're doing with them, as they grow, like as they get older, or advance, move into different programs, whatever it might be. However, you could preload with something, some information to their teacher ahead of time, or if you have different, like a classroom visit, like you could again do it either way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions at the moment before we actually dive into what the kids will see? All right. So this kind of gives you everything word by word that you can follow this exactly if you would like to, or you can kind of ad lib, make it your own. But this is going to give them the instructions that they need to follow and make it as easy as possible for whoever is facilitating this thing. So we've got our room set up. We've got our teams in the room when you are getting ready to start. Okay, I've got my setup here. Before the kids come in, before you start anything, your crystal base can spin. It definitely lights up and it changes. You can change the color on it. Okay. When they first come in, you want it just set to the bright white. You can choose if it spins or not. And then you have this remote control that I carry in my back pocket so the kids don't see me do it. But this remote allows me to, with this little number or little button at the very bottom, to flip through and change the color of the crystal. So as they start completing different realms, I flip the color a little bit. So as there get to be more and more shards in here, building to the final one is actually this rotating color, essentially. So this kind of indicates that they have successfully completed the quest. The kids, if you're changing the color, and this is kind of in the instructions telling them to keep an eye on the crystal, they'll try to figure out how it's changing colors. Is it like a weight-based thing? Is it on a timer? Because they don't see you doing it. Just know, and I had to learn this, and it probably, is common sense, but there is the little like lens thing on the back. So you will need to be able to have the remote facing the lens for it to work. And then you've got your switch on the back that turns it on and off. You can also manually change the color with a little button on the back too. So, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hey. I took some pictures of our crystal that was broken in transit. Will we be getting a replacement?
Yes, it's already been ordered. It should be, I think, we will get it shipped to you probably in the next 5 to 6 days.
Okay.
Yes, if any of you find damage in your kits and you haven't sent that to me, please send it to me. We did have some things happen in transit.
Hey, Jennifer. Just wanted to let you know too, we're missing like the base and the remote, and then I've got some damage. So I'll send this to you, but wanted to give you a cue that I'm going to send it via email because we're rolling this out in like 4 weeks. So I don't know if that's feasible. So
it will be, yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. You guys, I'm so sorry about these things not being perfect upon arrival to you. But I appreciate your patience as we work through these things. Okay, so we've got the crystal turned on. The other thing is this is your speaker, okay? You have technical manuals for all of the electronic components within one of the travel cases. But the third button here is going to turn your speaker on. You can change the color scheme of it with one of the buttons as well. And then you've got your volume up, volume down button at the very top, okay? It connects with the MP3 player that you're going to use to play your audio that I'll play here in just a second. So these things should be on as the kids are coming into the room. The other thing below here, they're going to ask about this. This is your rewards box, where the box of mysteries in the story. It's got inside of it, you should have this little lock that comes with 2 keys that are on a lanyard. They might be coming to you in the original little plastic package, but they should already be on the lanyard. They should have been packed inside of the rewards box, okay? So this is going to be on, it's going to be locked. You can fill this with whatever swag you want to leave behind for the kids. They're going to ask you what's inside of it, and you're going to tell them, I don't know, it's a mystery. You're going to have to wait until you complete the challenge to see, or the quest. Carry this around with you too, because you don't want it to come up missing. Okay, as we are getting ready to start, then we're going to start reading through the instructions. We're so excited to have you here today. And this is where you can kind of start to insert some of your own information as well. If you have special guests with you, if you have high school groups with you, whoever it might be that's in the room, introduce them. Introduce the company representatives as well. And then it gets into the purpose, okay? Gives them a little background about manufacturing as well, but that you're there to have fun with them. And then you're gonna play the intro audio. So on your MP3 player, when you go to, I think it's like a little disc looking thing on the home screen for music, and go to folder, and then SD card. There should be an intro and an
On the
outro.
continent of Creatoria, the crystal of innovation has shattered.
And its shards are scattered across the 4 realms. Without the crystal of innovation, progress is withering.
And the continent is becoming trapped in a time warp. The rulers of the realms have issued a call to innovators
To form teams whose mission is to find and reunite the shards of the crystal of innovation. If they achieve their mission, innovation will be restored.
and the continent will be released from its time warp. The clock is ticking.
Do you accept this mission?
Okay,
On the
so that's the intro, okay? And it tells you in here when to play that, and it actually reads the script or shows you what the script is, so you have an idea. Then you start giving them the instructions. And again, this can follow step by step through. Okay, tells them they're going to work in a team, tells them that they're going to select an innovator character. So on each table, as they come in, it could look 2 ways, essentially. If they are a smaller group and each team is going to have their own 4 boxes, their own set of realms, you can have these already preset in the middle of each table, along with a set of cards that they're going to be using. If it's a bigger group and they're going to share realms, then you might have each of the realms stacked in the front of the room on a table. But each group should already kind of have their set of cards so that they can start going through selecting who's going to be which character. Okay. And at that point, again, you've told them don't open anything until I tell you to, because you don't want them messing with these boxes while you're trying to give your instructions, and they will try. So just remind them of those things. Once you get through the instructions, you're going to give them the go sign, essentially. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is, I know some of you have the kits set up there. I would like to actually take some time to dive into the kits so you can experience it yourself. If you don't have your kits set up right now, before you take this out and use it, I do encourage you to go through and do each of the realms yourself so that you can experience some of the struggles that, like some of the pain points that kids might come across. So that you also know what types of hints to give them, when you should give them those hints, so on and so forth. You don't want to give them too many hints too early, but you also don't want them to get so frustrated. Like if they're really struggling, you don't want them to get so frustrated that they give up either. Okay. So the first one, let's dive into the City of Imagination. I'm going to bring Jordan in here. All right, so in the City of Imagination, I've got everything laid out here, but we are going to start from scratch. We're going to just open the box. Now remember, everybody, and if you're in a room together, go ahead and have everybody take 1 card. Do this as a team like the kids would. Okay. So you've got different people or different characters. We'll see what Jordan's gonna be. I might help him out a little bit, but you guys can do this right now. This is interactive, so go forth.
Oh man, I almost chose the brain just like you thought I might. I'm gonna go with the maker.
I am going to
Or
stop
the
sharing my
artist.
screen too, because I want to be able to kind of see you guys too if you are working. All right, so as he works on that, so on the City of Imagination, again, the kids are going to start. All right, start by reading aloud, right? You've landed in the City of Imagination where the famous cloud bridge has collapsed. You can see the coveted crystal shimmering pieces or crystal pieces shimmering in the sun just on the other side of the bridge, but they're out of reach. So any kid in the group can read this, okay? But these specific characters then should read their own part. So I'll be the originator. That truck on the other side of the bridge would be perfect to carry the shards across if only the bridge were safe to cross. Do you have any tools that could help, Artisan?
Last time I was in the city, I left the equipment here that could be useful. Now, if we could only find them beneath the clouds.
Okay, so that's their hint when they open this up. But before they move on, now they should read the setup instructions. Take the cloud bridge and the truck out of the box and place them on their marked areas on the map. Place the crystal shards in the bed of the truck. So it's step by step for them. How are they going to retrieve the shards? Locate the right equipment to retrace the blueprints. Attach the manufactured pieces to repair the bridge. And finally, did it work? Raise your hand and the gatekeeper, which could be any adult in the room, every adult can be the gatekeepers, will check your bridge to make sure the truck can travel safely across. Okay, so now they pull the board out. They're going to lay the board in the middle of them because they're all going to work on this together. Now they're going to pull the bridge out. They're going to set it on the spot that it belongs on the board. They're going to pull their truck out, also lay it in the right spot, and they're going to get their crystals out and put them in the bed of the truck or in the trolley in this case.
Wow, nice colors.
Very pretty. And then they're going to search for the equipment that they're going to use now, which is underneath the clouds. And remember, they have task cards, okay? So they can be laid on this table, but the kids can, or on the board. But the kids should be getting the task cards out, starting to read through what they're going to do. So task 1, split up the blueprints and the cloud pens. Step 1, split the blueprints among your team and decide who will use the cloud pens first to produce their bridge section. So there's 6 different blueprints. Every student in that team should get a blueprint to do. And then there's 3 3D pens. So they will have to take a little bit of turn there, but trust me, the kids will stay. They're going to be watching the others. They're going to be helping one another. Sometimes the kids struggle with the 3D pens too. But it tells them on here how to turn the pen on, okay? That it's going to start, it'll turn green. When the light turns green on the pen, that means it's ready to go. Okay, right now it's red. And then also it tells them in here to start the flow, they only have to hit the orange button once. They don't have to hold it down. Okay. And then they're going to use this to trace the design. Now, some of them are going to trace it the way that it looks on here. Others are going to kind of make their own design, but they're going to learn, like, if I don't connect all these and have enough lines going across, it's not going to be strong enough to actually hold up here. Okay. So, Jordan, I'll let you kind of play with some. If you guys have these, feel free to play with them, get a feel for it. A couple hints that I will give you as you're working on this. Hold the 3D pen a little bit closer to the plastic blueprint piece. Okay, don't hold it up too high. Yep, you're gonna stick the filament right in the end. When you hit the orange button, it's gonna start to make a sound. It might take a second, but then that filament, it works kind of like a hot glue gun, basically. It'll start coming out. If it stops where no more is coming out, you just stick another piece of filament right in the end.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
It's coming.
So there's a couple different things that are happening with this blueprint too. As you look at the bridge, okay, there is a missing base piece that they have to do. It does not just lay right down in between the two. Sorry, you can't see me. It does not just lay down here on the bottom. They actually should weld it to each side here so that it still creates the actual bridge. And then they're creating each of these, like the arch and then the three pieces here that they will need to weld together and then weld that to the existing bridge. Okay. We obviously aren't going to have time in this room to do all of these, but this would take one group probably 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. So Jordan has his started here. Now it does not take long for this stuff to dry, and you get these little like kind of messy pieces that can hang off of it. You can actually take this for a second. When you're done or when they're done, they can kind of like push the tip down and pull it away like that, and that'll get rid of those long, feathery kind of pieces. Doesn't take it long to dry at all. When it's dry, they can just pop it right off and see if their piece is strong enough. So you can kind of go ahead and weld it there. Now this is more of this is a challenging part too, getting it to weld on there correctly. This also shows patience and perseverance.
While he's doing that, just a quick question. Does the end of the 3D pen get hot? I'm just imagining a hot glue gun. Does that white part at the end?
Good question. It gets warm. It does not get as hot as a hot glue gun. No.
Oh, okay,
no.
Great.
And you would have to like hold your finger on there for a good 10, 15 seconds at least for it to feel like it's maybe burning you.
Okay.
So as you can see here, Jordan didn't listen.
Shoot.
When I said it doesn't get pressed down, it's got to be welded so that it
Jordan did not listen.
fills in the gap on the bridge. And I can also tell you that Jordan's bridge is not strong enough for that truck to not fall down in the gap. But that's all part of the learning process for them too. And they might kind of make their own design. That's fine. It's the same thing when we get to the paper airplanes. Some of them may try to make their own paper airplanes. That's okay. Let them experiment with things. They're learning. It's kind of fun with paper airplanes because they're learning about, aerodynamics and angles and all different kinds of stuff. So you guys having fun in the room there? Quad Cities? Yay!
Jen, if you said that this one wouldn't be strong enough for the truck to pass over, would you then instruct the student to try again?
Generally, I would say yes. They can even take like Jordan's piece here. They could add more to it. They don't have to start over necessarily, but they could just make more lines across the middle of it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. That's part of it too, though, is to show them like you're going to get, these things are not easy to use the first time if you've ever used these 3D pens. But the more you use it, the better you get too.
I was gonna say, Jennifer, right off the blueprint, and it sort of kind of broke up and shredded. Is that you got to?
I'm sorry, Chris. I don't think I heard the whole thing you asked there. You might need to go a little closer to your computer.
Can you hear me?
All right, try again.
When I was pulling the filament off my blueprint, it was ripping. Is there a trick?
So yes, there is. As you are doing it on the blueprint, that means that your line might not be thick enough. The other thing you can do is you've got your line going. It does help to kind of hold the pen almost right down on the blueprint to keep it a little thicker. But you also, as you stop, you can press on this to kind of push it together a little bit more to strengthen it a little bit, if that makes sense. So I just, yep. It's some trial and error. But again, this is why I want you guys to try it so that you can see what the kids are going to ask also. All right. If you guys want to continue in your room, finish the City of Imagination, you're welcome to. For our purposes and time, we're going to go ahead. So Jordan has, we're going to pretend that he has successfully completed this. Now, some of the kids might try to just do this base layer. Remind them, you don't want your truck to fall off the side of the bridge. So they need to make sure they do the whole thing, which I'm gonna be honest, the kids love to play with these pens. So even when they finish, they're gonna try to make all kinds of drawings. That's why you gotta limit their filament. But they do need to show that the truck can actually travel across their bridge without falling down, which his successfully did. So now he's finished. I'm gonna let Jordan go put his crystal pieces into the Crystal of Innovation. So can you go to ceiling 5? So there's 2 holes inside of the crystal. Yep, they can go in either one. They all actually come together in the center. Usually at this point, I've got it on white. As each group starts to finish their first realm, that's when I'm gonna probably change it to a different color. Okay, so now Jordan's finished. It's time to clean up. So we're gonna make sure, and you're gonna need to remind them of this, that everything gets put back in the same way that they found it. Make sure all the task cards are in order. Everything has its place in the box.
Do you need to clear the filament out of these pens?
Good question. You do not. It can stay in there. It'll be ready. They'll just need to feed more in later. But make sure that the pens get turned off before they go into the box. Now, if they have, this is a place where you can either wait and reload the filament later, or as they finish and they're putting away, if you have it handy and you just want to add them in or hand them a new set of sticks and a new set of crystals to put in the box so it's ready for next time, you can do that. It's totally up to you. But do make sure that they actually have taken off any filament that might have been on the blueprints, take their pieces off of the original bridge as well so that it's clean and ready for the next group to do it. And then make sure they're cleaning up after themselves and throwing any little filament pieces away. Okay, as they're resetting, make sure the task cards go back in. The board goes in with the graphics on the outside and the instructions in the upper left-hand corner. Just like that, one realm is done. Questions about City of Imagination? You guys can play all you want. These are yours now. All right, if not, we're going to go to Labyrinth of Machines. Again, this one is more time consuming because of the intricacy of wiring the snake robot or the remote control. All right, so this says, you land in the labyrinth of machines, a vast space network of floating rocks, dead robots, and coveted crystal shards. The silence is eerie as you assess your surroundings. There's way too much terrain to cover. You'll never be able to navigate to the shards yourself. So, Mastermind, go ahead.
If we can't reach something ourselves, I bet we could build something that can. Any ideas, Oracle?
I have an old friend around here with just the capabilities. So at this point, these are still inside of the box, okay? This is actually kind of like little puzzle pieces. So they're gonna have to figure out how to put the puzzle pieces together. So they're gonna, and it should not be that challenging for them, but you never know. So they're gonna pull it out. They will have read these instructions, attach pieces of the map together to reveal the realm, take the crystal shards out of their pouch, and sprinkle them randomly across the map. Okay, so we take our crystal shards out, complete all the task cards to retrieve the crystal shards. A different innovator should lead each task. Then raise your hand and the gatekeeper will check your board and work to determine if you officially completed the realm. Now, this is a case where they should read all of the task cards first because they're going to need to split up the challenges or the tasks. I'm sorry. They can have a couple people work together on the remote, on wiring that. And then they can have a couple people working on assembling the snake. Everybody, I can't say that for certain. A lot of the kids want the chance to actually drive or control the snake. And I encourage them, let everybody have a turn. Okay, let everybody pick up at least one crystal. The other thing about this one, it is bigger and the snake, it moves all over the place. This one may be easier to do on the floor. So if you might encourage them to do that, especially if it's a small table space, they can just lay this map out on the floor and run the snake across it down there. Okay, now I can tell you, they will, again, all of the task cards step by step show you how to do this, but they will try to jam instead of these screws and screwing them together. They will try to jam it through there and they will break these pieces. Okay, so you do have plenty of extra. But if you see them doing that, give them a hint that that's not how it works. Okay, but each of these screws are already in there. They screw that or unscrew that and then put them together using the screw. Also, it's a little tip on the task card, but there is a little what I call like the tongue piece that they're going to use. It's got a screw in there already that actually just clips to the front of the head, which it shows on the task card also. I think it says clip.
Yeah, connect the mouthpiece.
Yeah. So that one you don't actually have to unscrew. Yep. And then again, the task cards are going to show them how to connect all of the wiring harnesses to make sure that their controls are put together correctly for them to drive the snake. The other thing at the end of this is making sure that they fully disassemble the remote. So Jordan, I tell you what, I will work on the snake if you want to wire that remote.
Oh boy.
This is where you see kids, you know, start to kind of figure out the things that they want to do versus the things that they don't want to do too. Some kids may really struggle with that remote piece.
This kid will definitely struggle with this remote piece.
things are color coded too for you. Lenny Gale, I know that you had a list of questions. So while we're kind of working on this, I'm happy to also take some of those questions. And if
Okay,
others
great.
have questions too.
Okay, great. This might be in the manual. I mean, and just stop me because I know you're also recording and
It's okay.
I don't want to take up too much time. So it won't hurt my feelings where you're like, and pause. But it might be in the manual, but you kind of talked a little bit about ideal group size. And it seems like ideally you would want to have 6 students per group, right? Per, set of realms, right?
So yeah, we refer to them as a team, but yeah, six kids. Now you could do less in a team or in a group. I would never go more than 6 because they will start to be sitting off to the side and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Now,
so you can go less than, but not recommended to go more.
yeah, I would not go more. And then we designed it so that each team would have their set of all 4 boxes, so they don't have to share, they don't have to wait to finish, or wait for somebody else to finish to move on. But you can have them share. You can have all of the boxes in the front of the room where they just go get one box at a time and work on it. And that allows you to use it with more kids at once too, or not take the whole kit, kind of like you had asked earlier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then something I'm still fuzzy on, I think I asked you this in our initial conversation, but where do you've got the roles that everybody gets at the beginning. Where do those come into play? Is that just something we put in our back pockets for the game, or is there a prompt that says, okay, creator, step up, this is your job here? Do those roles come into play in the game?
Yes. So in each of when you open and you have the instructions on the top of the box, specific, we say certain characters are home in each realm. Like that's where they would be most, their strengths would lend the most value kind of thing. But every character is going to have places to read, and kind of areas that their character may excel or do more than others. But realistically, also no, right? Like every kid can still do every part of this. They're not limited because I'm the dreamer and I'm not home in this realm, or I don't see my picture, doesn't mean that I'm not still involved somewhere, kind of thing.
Sure. That makes total sense.
But at the same time, couldn't you also kind of spin that as, hey, you started out this way because you thought that's what you wanted, and as you've done this, you found that no, I'd rather do something else.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
That's part of it, is helping kids discover, what they do and they don't like. One of the groups that we had several months ago, I don't remember what his character was. The other thing is you can have the adults or whoever's, facilitating this, you can have them identify with a character too in their role. So that the kids can actually put a real face to what might align with characters too. But we had a kid doing City of Imagination, and he got so upset, like visibly upset, because he was having such a hard time with the 3D pens. And somebody sat down with him and was, trying to calm him down and show him how to use it. And he was like, I don't want to. Like, he was done. Next thing I know, at the end, again, I say they will find anything to do with those 3D pens. He came up to me and his principal at the end to show us something that he had created on his own using the 3D pens that he had imagined up and made. And he was so excited to show it off. And to watch him go from, again, visibly upset and frustrated, not wanting to do anything, to being excited and creating his own design was so like, that was part of why we do this, right? To watch those aha moments, to have them discover that maybe I didn't think I was going to be good at something, but I actually was, or maybe I didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but I did. Like, but also I know that I don't like that too, you know, so there's a lot of self-discovery in this. The other thing I want to tell you, one of the things in like your extras kit. So this is the wire that connects the snake robot to the remote control. It should have a band on it, but there's some really colorful rubber bands that are bigger rubber bands in your kit that can help just to tie things together. So I would always keep a rubber band on these. And then same thing like with your groups of cards. I will say sometimes the rubber bands, because the edges of those card sleeves are a little bit sharp, the rubber bands will, and you may have seen it already, it'll kind of break the rubber bands, but that's what all those rubber bands are for. All right, Jordan, how you doing?
Getting there, but slowly.
This one I would say is going to take probably at least 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little quicker, depending on, again, how technical kids are.
Another question I had.
Yep.
When we're so I talked to a group yesterday that's very enthusiastic about partnering with us to implement this, and they do STEM camps and things like this on the regular. So I started with them because I'm like, y'all are already the experts in this sort of thing. And one of the things that they do is, so they have like, they'll work with the schools and they'll have a morning group come in to do an activity. Then they'll go back to their school and then they'll have an afternoon group come in, do their activity. Do you feel like that's feasible in that time frame? So 2 hours total would be enough to do introductions, get completely through the game, do follow up. What did you learn, et cetera, and then they can be out of there without feeling rushed.
Yes, 2 hours is a great amount of time. What grade level are they? Did I miss that?
No, it's a variety of grade levels.
Okay.
They were just throwing out some ideas for different groups that they've worked with.
Yes.
And I think you even mentioned when we originally talked that maybe long term there's goals to make this adaptable for beyond 4th through 9th, maybe older, maybe younger.
Yeah, I've done it with high school juniors and seniors. And at first they kind of, like joked around about we're doing this game and whatnot. And then as they started to get into it and started to even see some of the struggles, they had a good time with it. And then we took those high school kids to do it with 6th graders the next day, where we had one high school kid in each group to kind of help guide the younger kids through it. And not only, you gotta tell them, right? You don't give them the answers, you help them where they need it, but they're like peer mentors to them in that sense too. So, but yeah, you could definitely use it with older kids. Oh, Jordan got his snake rolling.
I got it to work.
Yay. This is where, again, the floor can be useful, but if you kind of go ahead, drive her around a bit. Did you?
Yeah, I got one. I gotta say, this is a great sense of accomplishment.
Very good. All right.
That was awesome.
So again, they're going to take all these pieces apart, put them back into their places, make sure all the screws are in, making sure that they disconnect the remote. And maybe you or whoever's in the room want to help with that too. Sometimes the kids will leave that remote fully assembled and then it's not a challenge for the next group if you don't have time to go through them. So just remind them to take the remote apart. We'll clean this one up later. Let's go ahead and go to the Forest of Precision here. We're running out of time. I know, I'm sorry. We're gonna try to wrap up here by 2, but it'll be close. So we may not do this one all the way through. But Forest of Precision, you found yourself deep in the Forest of Precision when you come to a clearing with crystal pieces. But these crystal shards are so heavy that the only way to transport them back is by flying them, and they'll each need their own plane. Tactician says, we can't skimp on quality here. Only the best construction will carry them home. Any other notes, Artisan?
All hands on deck. Working in cells will help us fly through this challenge.
All right, so all hands on deck. We're gonna have to split up our tasks. You've got your, kind of hard to see there. This is like your circuit board, essentially, that they're gonna build the snaps on. So all their pieces are inside of here to build their circuit. Their task cards are going to step by step tell them what to do. They need to measure out and put their board 6 feet away. Okay, so they're gonna have to fly each plane at least 6 feet successfully. If it doesn't make 6 feet, it doesn't count. And they can't use the same plane to fly 15 times. It needs to be multiple planes. Now you can determine that within the group. Maybe you want to shorten it to they need 6 planes or, whatever it kind of looks like, you can adjust for that group. Then you might have, okay, so there's the circuit that you can work on. You've got 2 different types of blueprints for airplanes. So they're having to read and follow these guidelines. And it can be challenging for them. So you may, somebody might want to help. They might try to make their own design, and that's okay too, because they'll learn why things do or don't fly very well. Okay. And then at the end, their shards are right here in the center of the board. Somebody's going to watch and make sure that they've actually flown them far enough and give them permission to go put their crystal shards into the crystal. Oh, I see somebody's got their hand up. Chris, is that your room with hand up? I can see you, but I can't hear you. What birthday?
There are a couple questions in the chat, Jen.
I think I have those.
Jen, can you hear Quad Cities? Sorry.
I can now, yes.
Oh. So we had a question, not to go backwards too far, but with the snake activity, the battery source or the power source in the remote control, are we supposed to charge that? Are we, because we got no power, there was no indicator light.
Or does it take a 9-volt battery?
Or is it a battery situation?
Yeah, it's actually a 9-volt battery inside of there. So
Okay.
you should have power. You also should have some.
How about I'm assuming it looks like a Phillips head screwdriver needs to be to take that cover off. For the 9-volt battery?
You're right, yes.
Perfect. We know what to do.
Bring your own screwdriver in?
Yes, but I can ship you one.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure there wasn't one here and we were missing it.
Oh, nope. That's something that we got the batteries inside of them, but I don't think got the screwdriver to go with it. Sorry about that, but yeah, I'll gladly ship you one.
Leave those out to do that? You want to leave those out to do that, or do we remember to do that later?
What am I gonna say? Now that 9-volt that's in there should last quite a while. You're saying yours didn't work at all? Did you get the remote wired correctly?
Here. So if the battery were in there and if it were working, we would have gotten an indicator light on the battery pack, correct?
I don't think so. Mine does not light up, but we know ours worked.
So maybe we did it wrong.
We didn't have a battery.
We don't know if there's a battery. We'll find out. It's all good.
There's a battery in there.
There definitely should be, but if you find that there's not, please let me know. Will you write down about screwdriver for me? Thanks. Okay, so Jordan has his flying. We're behind on paper airplanes here. I'll try to make a couple real fast so you can see. This is one where you sometimes have to mess around with angles to see. They can put their board on the floor if they want to. They can put it on the table, 6 feet away, whatever it is. But it's easiest if they hold the airplane launcher while they're flying the airplanes through it. And then just a couple kind of tips and tricks on the airplane launcher. I've practiced this a few times. So I've got my little paper airplane here. There's 2 different designs. When you power this on, you want to power it on first. Okay, and then you're going to stick it through. You don't want to start it clear. Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me. You don't want to start it clear back here. You kind of want to start it up a little bit. You're going to get the base of the paper airplane. You hold it, it's going to get stuck in there, okay? But if you gently let it go, it will fly. Sometimes it'll fly in a real straight line. Other times it's going to do a dive bomb, just depending on the design, the correct folds, how you get it in there. But they do have to kind of hold the front forward. Now watch me sail on this. There you go. My very quick design is not working.
Not 6 feet, but
Not 6 feet, but better. I'll tell you, the other design actually usually works better.
oh, really?
Flies further. Yep.
We could breathe.
Yep. Gotta let go quicker. Oh, that one went. All right. So when they finish that one, they can go and put their shards in the crystal. They pack everything up, make sure all their pieces are inside of this box, except for the shards, the paper, the circuit board, and then the task cards lay right on top of the circuit board as well. Okay. The final one, the channel of unity. Again, this one's more of a brain game, okay? So they're going to put all of their cards. That's what it's going to tell them too. There's no task cards here, but it says your team comes across a circular river and you spot the crystal pieces on the center bank. Easy. You jump in and after a few seconds of waiting, you start to feel yourselves being pulled sideways. You quickly realize that the river is flowing around itself and picking up speed. The current is too strong to swim out of the channel of unity. Champion. I remember hearing local legends say that whispering the right incantation can calm the channel down. However, saying it too loud speeds the river up. Oracle, do you have any idea what the incantation could be?
The river is infamous for loving puzzles. Maybe if we put all our cards on the table, we can explore the realm and solve this one together.
Okay, so put all our cards on the table, explore the realm, right? There's their 2 hints in there. The paper also shows them that it's going to be 2 words. Okay, so that's kind of a guiding hint also. They're going to read through here and what to do, put their crystal shards in the middle. This is a cipher. Okay, if you've never used a cipher before, the way it works for the older kids, well, for the younger kids, they already just have a letter in the upper right-hand corner of their cards. They're going to unscramble their letters and figure out what those 2 words are, basically. The older kids, though, have a symbol in the upper right-hand corner. They have to take their symbol and match it with the shape, basically, of a letter on the board. Okay, so it's a shape, whether it's like this one is kind of like a less than sign or greater than sign. My math is failing me at the moment. Anyways, so you would match up this one. You probably can't see this very well. The shape matches on the Y, but the Y has a dot in it and this symbol does not have a dot. If I go over here, I can find that shape has a U and there's no dot in it. Okay, so this symbol for the originator is a U. I would recommend that they take their sheet, right? I would have them, if they are struggling, write out their letters onto the sheet on the back. And then once they see their letters, they may be able to unscramble them better. But I would let them struggle with this a little bit. There's usually one, maybe two kids in the group that start to kind of put things together. Once they get one letter, they'll know how to do the rest. Okay. But if they're really struggling, first, if they can't even figure out that they should be looking at something on their cards, have you looked at your cards? Did you put all your cards on the table? Just kind of reiterating some of the things that are on the instructions in the box. Did you look at the board? Did you explore the realm? Okay, what is your shape? So like just giving them those little guiding hints as they need them so that they can figure out how to tie that to a specific letter or figure out what letter that is supposed to be. Okay, so they finish that. The gatekeeper, they're going to quietly write it onto their sheet. They're going to tell the gatekeeper what their chant was. And then the gatekeeper is going to say, yes, you can go put your crystals or your shards into the crystal. Okay. Again, remember through all of this, I know we're at time here. I'm going to wrap up very quickly, but I am always happy to have more conversations and answer your questions with you. But we're changing the color as we go through. Once all the groups have finished, we're going to have it on the color changing one. At this point, we're going back to that facilitator script as we're going to wrap up and give them kind of the instructions. We're going to play the outro on the speaker that says, congratulations. And ultimately, we're going to unlock the box of mysteries. So at this point, you can take the key and unlock it. You can give the key to one of the kids or to another, adult in the room, whoever it is you want to have kind of be in charge and unlock this. And then slowly allow them to come up and take out whatever their reward is that you're leaving behind with them. Okay. I know that this has been a lot. Again, continue to just kind of play with the different activities in the kit to get familiar with it. But the more you use it, the more you're going to see the connections. The kids have a great time. It's fun to watch them even change. Like the kids who are ornery, once they get into this, like you see them have that switch flip where they're like all in. So questions, if you need to hop off, I appreciate you taking the time today. Please let me know if things come up. Please let me know if you find other issues with your kits. But if you have questions, I'm happy to stay around and answer some or schedule some calls.
Thank you. I'm excited to start trying it.
Absolutely. And as you start trying, again, let me know if you need, hints for things and whatnot. In the chat, I know somebody asked, do you have supplies to teach ourselves how to do this? The instruction manual has most of that, or as you go through and you read the instructions and the task cards, again, read them closely. But that should give you everything you need to know how to do this. And second, if you only have time to do one, any suggestions on the best one to do? So we're talking about one realm, if we're only taking one out. If I were only taking one out, I would take actually any of the three that are more technical. So the City of Imagination, Labyrinth of Machines, and Forest of Precision. Any of those would be good. And that could be 3 different touch points too, if you needed to do like 3 different events or one at each grade level or whatever that might be. Any other questions, comments, concerns, all the things?
I have another question or two, but I can wait until you officially wrap everything up so I don't take up people's time.
Chris, do you have any questions in there?
Hey there, Jen. Sorry, our group is disbanding.
No worries. I'm glad your group came.
Yeah, no, I am too. We're actually already, because two of those folks were from a high school and they already have a demo group of 8th grade boys that they want to, we will all want